Welcome back. So today we'll discuss about US clinical experience and how you can find the USCE. So we are not going to talk about USCE that you can find from companies like us at USMLE Sarthi, but if you're on your own and you want to look for USCE, you want to apply for it, and then once you get that USCE, how do you evaluate whether it's worth doing or not? Welcome to our channel where we discuss all aspects of USMLE. So if you're new here, consider subscribing to our channel and follow us on Instagram so that we can give you weekly updates to help you in your USMLE journey. So today we are going to talk about US clinical experience, how to look for it if you're on your own, how to apply for it, and once you get it, how to evaluate its usefulness. This applies to electives, observerships, externships, or hands-on USCE that you can get. Of course, we have done a separate video on electives, how to look for them step by step. So you want to watch that along with this video if you're interested in electives, and I'll have the link to that in the description below. So all USCE is not created equal. Your goal has to be to look for USCE that will help you in your specific situation in the USMLE journey. So before we get into how to look for these opportunities for the US clinical experience, let's talk about why some applicants, IMG applicants, have difficulty in finding the USCE. The very first thing is how the applicant's CV is written. We have seen so many CV over the years. And a lot of times the CV is just practically blank. There is no content in the CV, not even home country experience, those skills. So this becomes a chicken and egg theory. You don't have any experience, so you're not getting USCE. You don't have any USCE, so you're not getting those experiences either. So how do you resolve that? The best way to do it is, even if you have no USCE, have a well-crafted CV. Articulate your skills and experiences, even if you're a recent graduate, even if you have no USCE, but you may have done internships, you may have done other volunteer activities, you may have done other projects in your med school. So whatever it is, make it slightly specific to the specialty and make sure the CV actually reflects who you are. It reflects your medical school work or work experience if you worked in the home country, so that the physician or the program coordinator who looks at the CV finds it more useful than just a blank CV listing, this is where I went to the med school and this is where I went to the high school and so on. The second is the email content. When you send out those emails, the email content is not relevant. Sometimes it is very, very generic. So obviously email is the most useful way, or it's the most common way that people look for USCE as they are trying to reach out to the physicians or the coordinators. But the email content also makes a lot of difference. Like I said, generic emails have a lower probability of getting you that USCE. Massive emailing, repetition without changing the content, if you know it's not working, also prevents you from getting the USCE. So once you are starting to send the emails and you realize that it's not working, maybe take a step back and see what you can change, but definitely not generic email. The third is the typos and the grammatical mistakes that we see in the CV, in the cover letter. I cannot stress this enough. It becomes so irritating to the program coordinator or to the physician as they look through the CV or the cover letter and find some very, very obvious common error. So you need to get over these. If you think you need help with grammar, sentence structure, and all that, use tools like Grammarly. They are very, very good. And even if you get a paid subscription, it will be worth it so that your cover letter and CV presents a very professional look. And the fourth point I want to tell you is about the timings of the email, when to send the email, at what time of the day, and what day of the week. So we'll have more of this in the sections later on. So some of the other basics I want you to be aware of. First, the USC does not wait. in the sense that you have to start booking your USCE as soon as possible. So let's say you are in April, you'll be surprised to know that USCE typically is getting booked all the way up to October. So you got to start early. Second, you really have to show specific and genuine interest in the program, or when you talk with that physician in their program for USCE. So that is important. Third, you should know that the best way to find the email of the faculty is the program website, the hospital website, and so on. So the emails are not difficult to find. It's just you need to know where to look for at the hospital website or the university website. Fourth point is social media is becoming increasingly important to look for USCE. So what I mean is LinkedIn, for example, Instagram. A lot of programs are now on Instagram. So that also is a good way to broaden your network and look for those opportunities if you so desire. The fifth is the national conferences, all the US conferences, if you start attending. And because of COVID, a lot of it has gone virtual. So there are better opportunities. It is more cost effective. So if you happen to attend these conferences, it's a good networking platform, which can also lead to a lot of USC for you guys. How do you identify these programs and how do you look for these programs? So first, of course, you got to make a list. How do you get a list where you want to do this USC, whether it is at the hospitals or at the independent physicians? So first, start with the list that is available on our Facebook group. I see this list very often. People share it. It's been posted multiple times in the groups or in other channels that you may be aware of. A lot of applicants do post their USC locations after they match, so that's a good way to do it. Then, of course, there is the PREDA and Residency Explorer. So you can always look at the IMG favored programs and those programs and facilities that have higher IMG percentages, and that'll give you another cut of the list if you want. And then, of course, there are your seniors, there are your alumni who may be already in the residency programs, maybe attending or already in the US system, and they can also help you figure out the list for the USCE. Then, of course, the second most important tool here we have is Google. Google is your best friend. So learn to use keywords in Google to help you with these USCE. For example, you can say rotations at X program or rotations for IMGs in this city and the city, or so on and so forth. So use these particular keywords for the city, for the specialty, for the programs, and then you are sure to find other lists that you may have missed. So Google obviously is a good source of adding to your list. And once you start preparing this list, it is important to be productive and efficient because you may be ending up sending hundreds and hundreds of these inquiries. So what is the best way to organize your list? So first, of course, you can do it in Excel. Make sure you note down the name of the program, the city, the state, the source, how you got that program. Note down what the fee is. Note down if they offer LOR, if they've listed that they offer LOR or not. Note down the program coordinator or observership coordinator detail. Note down the URL where you will see all the forms if they have that kind of a URL. So get all that information in a particular structure in an Excel sheet for all the programs, because this you will come back again and again to update that list and make it more efficient for you as you send out those hundreds and hundreds of emails. It's also important to keep updating it with the date when you sent out that email to the program or applied to the program. What did you hear back from the program? So having one Excel sheet for all your rotations with all this information will be really useful to you. Then the next thing is to make sure that you get your documents ready. Now, whether it is your CV, a lot of programs don't really care about the ERAS CV. So it could be the non-ERAS CV. And many of you students may not even have a non-ERAS CV. So, that's something you need to work on. Then it could be the USMLE transcript. It could be, a copy of your passport, etc., that the programs may want, or any other program specific requirement as you go through that list. So make sure to get that ready, but most importantly, get your resume, CV ready. Now, Once you have the list, how do you apply? So if the program already has a website or has an application form with a link to apply directly, you should do that. After you apply, email the coordinator if that email exists and you have that, to say that you have already applied, and ask them if they need any additional information. So that's always courtesy, and that makes sure that not only you applied through the website, you have also let them know by email, so they can get back to you if they need more information. Now, when you email the programs or you apply to the programs, they may want your, almost certainly they will want your CV. So depending on the format, you should also send the CV. Most programs may also want a personal statement. So make sure if they want a personal statement, you have something similar to a personal statement that you can send. If you have applied through IRAS in the previous seasons, you may have already have a personal statement. So that's, another thing that you should be aware of. If the program has no link to directly apply and you are emailing the application, then structure your email well. Like I said before, personalize it with program specific information and why you're interested. Highlight elements about yourself that might give you an edge. For example, it could be scores, it could be your visa status, it could be your background, home country experience, it could be something else. So highlight those parts in your email that you think will give you an edge. That is very important. Of course, as you email the program coordinator or whosoever is listed for the observerships, ask them what else can you provide them. Ask them if there is any other person who may be responsible for these rotations, and if they could forward this application to them if they are not the right person. So that always opens up some more channels for you. The other important thing I want to tell you is regular follow up. That is important. Understand that physicians, coordinators, they are all very busy, and observership is not their main task. They have other things to worry about. So it's okay to follow up maybe once every week for a few weeks. Sometimes students may want to do twice a week, but more than that is just not worth it. So follow up politely, and if you are not able to get a response to your email, you may also call them, and check if they got the email, if they want anything else. So calling them is also not a bad idea if you have followed enough on email. So remember that these people are busy, and sometimes they will not get to your email. So don't expect immediate response to your emails or phone calls, but follow up is still important. And as you follow up, make sure to update your Excel sheet so that you know when you've called a particular program. It just makes you more organized. Now, the other question we get is, when should I email? What time of the day, what day of the week? So typically morning times are good times. So if they receive your email in their time zone at say between 9 to 11 or so, that may be a good time when they can read through all the emails. Weekdays are always good. Weekends, a lot of people may or may not read their emails. Monday morning is generally a bad time with tons and tons of emails that they may have received from their work. So between Tuesday and Friday morning times would be a good time to send the email. The other tools you can use, of course, is the email scheduler. So you can, get all your emails ready and make sure that you set it up in a way that those emails are sent out at a particular time on a particular day. So all email tools now do that. So you can actually set up your email to go out at a particular time. So you don't have to physically do that at that very moment. So you can get ready with that day or so before you're ready to send. So hopefully with these tips, you are able to land the USCE opportunities. Now, once you get the opportunities, how do you evaluate those USCEs? How do you, make sure that this is actually worth your time? So very first thing, of course, is the LOR policy. Some programs don't have a policy of giving out LOR. So maybe you are really wanting an LOR. So if that is the case, then you have to assess whether it's really worth your time to do that rotation. The second is the LOR letterhead. You have to understand and you have to know from them whether you will get an LOR on the program or hospital letterhead or the clinic letterhead. It's always good to know. Obviously, hospital letterhead, program letterhead is more impactful. There are others that give it on a clinic letterhead. You have to make that judgment call. The third, of course, is the learning opportunities. For example, will you have access to the EMR systems? EMR use is very, very important, and programs are beginning to give a lot more attention to how well students are conversant, IMGs are conversant with the use of EMRs and some of those tools. So make sure before you get to those USCE, you know whether you will have access to the EMR system or not. Then, of course, is the type. Obviously, you should know this, but if you don't know, now is the time to find out whether it is an observership, whether it's hands on. What opportunities will you have? Will you have opportunities to present the cases, interact with the patients, or maybe get involved in some kind of a research also, do some case reports? So all that, if you can find out before you go, it'll help you assess these opportunities. Location obviously is very important. A lot of times it is very attractive to find USC in your own city or near where you live, just because it saves on a lot of cost. But sometimes you may have to move to a more IMG friendly city or state. So, cities in Michigan, in Illinois, New York, New Jersey, that will give you much better opportunity to build your CV. So location is also important. And then, of course, if you're waitlisted, and if program gets back to you saying you've been waitlisted for the opportunity, it is important for you to find out as soon as possible when the waitlist is expected to be clear, and so on, such details, so that you don't keep waiting for that USC in that month and you can fill it with something else. So these are some of the factors you should be aware of as you evaluate those USC opportunities. And we do have a detailed video on evaluating the USC opportunities, and I can point to that in the description as well. Finally, for those of you who are looking for electives specifically, what is the difference if you're looking for electives and clerkships between that process and what we just mentioned? So obviously, like I mentioned, we have done a separate video on electives, so make sure to watch that. But usually electives and clerkships, they have these programs have an official process in place. It's best to apply as per the information given in the official website. And not all programs will allow international students to rotate as part of their electives. Most have changed it to the visiting students learning opportunities, so VSLO. If your school does not participate in the VSLO, then you may want to check for others. Electives, especially like even the rotations and all that, does require to apply well in advance, 4 to 6 months. So that is something you have to be aware of. In electives, you may need some additional documents like the letter from your dean, TOEFL score, Step 1 score. Again, something which just the graduate externship, observership with a physician may not need. So check for that if you are doing the electives. Start searching for these elective opportunities, like I said, in various forums, or make lists for yourself. And especially given the COVID situation, many programs have changed their criteria, many have closed down, they are not open yet for electives. So there may be a lot of flux here. So that was all that we had. Hopefully this was useful to you and you are able to find USCE by yourself. We do have a lot of USCE opportunities on our website. So if you need help, let us know, and good luck for USCE searching, and good luck for your math journey.